SideQuest forever. Steve OG in the building. ADHD brain. Never one mission. Spark it up. Let's go! Dragon Ball, Power Rising, Goku chasing the sky. Vegeta talking trash while the Saiyans multiply. Naruto running missions with the Shadow Clone crew. Sasuke chasing vengeance while the Rasengan flew.
What up, y'all? It's that time. It's another episode of the SideQuest Punk. How's it going? It's yours truly, the SideQuest Punk. And we're going to take this a little bit different today. And today, we're going to get a little crazy with it. And we're going to talk about something that's actually very special to me, as far as my journey throughout the world. And today, I wanted to kind of shed some light on something that I partaked in. I'm a big advocate for. And I sound like a fucking crazy person when I talk about it. So, what it is we are talking about alternative forms of medicine, psychedelics, used in the terms for healing, not just to trip, not to, you fucking trip out, bro. No, this is something that, to me, is very special because I have used these multitude of different ceremonies and different versions of things that have been brought to me for opportunity to try. Early on, I've tried different types of toad venom. I've done ayahuasca rituals. One of my first experiences was through a Cambo ceremony where I even have the dots still on my arm. I'll have to get a picture maybe and prop it up here. But they burn you. I think I even have some of the pictures on my phone still of when I did it. I do it all the time. I've done it multiple times. It's supposed to cleanse you of toxins and things. Everybody experiences it differently. I know I was drinking a lot at the time when I did it. I was asking the guy who facilitated, like, hey, is there any reason why it tastes like I have nickels in my mouth, like pennies? It tastes metallic. And he was like, hey, do you drink a lot? And I was like, yeah, I drink a good amount. He was like, well, that's probably your liver cleansing. Usually when it's the metallic taste, it's your liver cleansing. So, early on I was pretty intrigued. And, I've tried DMT in the powder form and the cartridge form. And that was what prompted me to definitely want to try the ayahuasca rituals. So there's a group that I do. There's an Aya guide group that I do out in Tucson. A great, amazing group out in Tucson. I've done multiple ceremonies. I brought my wife. A good friends of mine really started me on that, and it's a really beautiful experience. You get to drink this tea on this commune out in the desert, and there's like a freaking Thunderdome, like straight up like Mad Max, like this giant caged dome, and you sit under the stars with your sleeping bag. And they usually do the tea rituals. And what's different about ayahuasca from the toad is the ayahuasca tea that they make is made from the ayahuasca root, and they use different types of like mimosa and things of that sort, like the mimosa plant. And what it is for the tannins, because your body actually naturally produces DMT, which, for those of you at home, let me see. The full scientific name is dimethyltryptamine. Tryptin, I always can't say it fucking right. And it is called the spirit molecule. Your body produces it. They say your body produces it the most when you were born and when you die. It's kind of what they would say is like your life flashing before your eyes in a sense. And they say your body produces the most while you sleep, but your body metabolizes it very fast. That's why you can't remember dreams and things of that sort. And dreams are some vivid dreams you can only remember real quickly, but it just kind of fades away. But the tea is made and brewed a certain way to where your body digests it a little bit slower, and usually those take hours. They usually do it at night. It's beautiful. I've done it multiple times. I attribute it a lot to kind of me being a little bit more centered than a little bit more well together than I used to. I would highly recommend it over any kind of
Challenge
I
accepted.
mean, I would say in conjunction with maybe some counseling and stuff, but like therapy and things, I mean, like this will unlock a lot of stuff because from my experience, with like the ayahuascas and things, is you really do have a true ego death. And people don't understand what an ego
Don't
death
judge me,
is.
monkey.
It's just your pride, your prejudice, are just things that should make sense. You no longer get in the way of your self understanding or any criticisms or judgments. It's like the fucking veil is dropped and the curtain drops and you can now see everything, as it is. It's pretty amazing. And recently, one of a good friend of mine, his name's Chad Gregory. I tried to do an interview. I did an amazing interview with him, but unfortunately, the software that I use is a little little messed up, and I couldn't get it was cutting out. So it's unfortunate. But I met Chad years ago. We used to work together. I actually hired him at a dispensary I used to work at, and over the years we've stayed friends. We definitely connected with our like-mindedness when it comes to alternative forms of healing, like do psychedelics and things of that sort. I remember when he got hired, he was like, "Hey man, if I get hired, I just gotta let you know I might need some time off in a couple months. I gotta go to Peru to do an ayahuasca ritual." And I was like, "Oh, no doubt, yeah, I got you." And he just looked at me like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, man, I got you. That sounds amazing. Let me know how it is when you get back."
Do you know what I am
From
saying?
that on, we became friends. And Chad is an amazing individual, and he offered to do these. Now, the toad ceremony is actually fairly new. If those of you don't, so what it is what I'm talking about is Bufo Alvarius, which is the species. I think like the specific species of toad. It is actually very common here in the Southwest. It's actually common to Arizona and New Mexico. Ironically, it's called the Colorado toad, which makes no fucking sense to me. Why would you? Is it the Colorado River? Is that why? But it's God bless it. I fucking love that I live in Arizona. That is naturally the habitat of a psychedelic fucking toad, like my fucking spirit animal. I love it. He doesn't hurt. He just fucking sends you down to the universe and hops away. It's fucking dope. So what it is when it's startled or when it's attacked, it secretes like this milky venom that shoots out. It does have what's in it. It naturally produces that's inside the venom. It's 5-MeO DMT. 5-MeO DMT. What that is 5-methoxy dimethyltryptamine. And it is the strongest psychedelic known at this point. It's the strongest kind. Now, this tends to hit a little faster. It's a little bit more intense and not as visual as like the ayahuasca rituals and things of that sort with the teas. It's more like in a sense, it's a lot. And it's a lot more of an emotional, kind of spiritual type, overwhelming sensation. You experience quite a bit. Like I myself have done this ritual just once. I did it 2 weeks before my wedding. And, I was a groom who planned a wedding. My wife was just starting a new job. And, she's very stressed. And she had to go through all that stuff. She wouldn't. And I took on the burden of that. So, I managed to plan a small wedding that had changed last minute. And, 2 weeks before the wedding, my wife gifted me with this because I really wanted to try it.
Use my special
Now, when I first did it, it was a whole lot different. It was, he was like Airbnb, or it was like a house way out in the middle of like Lake Pleasant. Like it was like I drove on a dirt road for like a good 20-30 minutes down Lake Pleasant. I didn't even know they had houses and compounds out in Lake Pleasant with that stuff. But he had this beautiful setup with the blanket and the tables and all his things, and with the speaker playing amazing music that he had chosen, which just really set the tone. And Chad's a very soft-spoken individual, very well-spoken too as well. He chooses what he says. I just talk out my ass. Chad is very specific what he says, and he's very understanding, and he really gives you this sense of safe space when you're doing it. And I got to do it, and I went 3 rounds, and this was back when he first started. Now Chad has, during my interview that I didn't get to fucking record because the quality was just awful. But during our interview, he had talked about how, things have changed now. Now Chad is either going to facilitate, somewhere like come to you, whether you come here in Joshua Tree where he resides, you can rent an Airbnb and he'll come to you. Or, like when he came here this time, he came to my house and had this ceremony with my wife in our living room. And when I asked him why the change, I remember like it was such a beautiful setting, but yeah, it was kind of a bitch to get out there. And he's like, it's more of a safety thing. Things have progressed and you've learned, and it's more of the sense of, you need some kind of serenity and safety. What if things go wrong? You got to make sure that you have that set. So I thought that was quite the I thought it was quite a wise move. I thought it was a very smart move, because he's like, yeah, man, it doesn't matter where you're out in the woods or in your home. You're not here, man. You're out, the Bufo is going to show you and take you somewhere else, which he's totally right. So I applaud it. But my sessions, and I'm a very animated guy. I'm very loud. I'm a lot sometimes. But what was surprising about it, because, I'm very familiar. I had done at least 3 ayahuasca rituals by the time I'd done my first toad ritual. So, when, I've learned, the key that I've learned in any of those situations is to surrender. You got to surrender. You can't, the more you fight it, it's trying to show you, and it's doing what it's supposed to do, and it's showing you what it needs to show you. I feel like the toad and the DMT in like the powder form is a very, I sound like a fucking hippie when I say this shit, but it's a very masculine energy. It's kind of like a cosmic bitch slap. Like there's so much that you have to process that it's not like a clear cut, here's the answer. It is in a form of like these visual riddles, almost in a sense, and these truths that you have to really process and understand now that, the ego is back in the way. Sometimes, it's easier when you're under the influence, but when you're back sober again, it's hard to process what is it was trying to tell you, which is definitely hard sometimes. I've had a couple times. I know the first time I did tea, I didn't break through as much, and I personally felt like I had been abandoned. Like everybody else had these really epic journeys, and I was just left behind. I felt like I wasn't worthy. It was quite a ego destroyer. But the second and third time was beautiful, and I've seen things, and it's a fact, and it's really interacts strongly with your serotonins and such to get to the main science of it. Okay, and the effects can begin literally within seconds. Like I would say as soon as you let out the smoke, the best way I can describe it is like what you think you would feel like if you were a tuning fork. Just like the and you're vibrating like every possible frequency of the universe absorbing, and it's just like it's this intensity, and it's just truth, and it sounds pretty crazy. And now the toad and like the DMT stuff usually lasts about 5 to 20 minutes. Now the DMT powder, usually you're just sitting there with your eyes closed. You're not as intense. Now this 5-MeO DMT inside the toad venom is way more potent. A lot of people respond differently. Now, not in a, so I would say, negative way, but they're what we call expressions, and some expressions are more intense than others. Now, me, which is completely out of character, as being such a very vibrant, energetic type person, but with my familiarity, I was very still. very still. Like, my friend said it was interesting to watch how still I was, and I would just slowly open my eyes. I remember my toad ceremony was right before my wedding, and all I could do was think about was my wife and how she was that was it. There was no doubt. There was no fear. Like, all I could think about was her and her happiness, and it being attached to my happiness. And I just knew that, like, no one's gonna take me from that woman, and that's what the toad showed me. I had waited so long. We had waited so long for each other. I would never break that trust, and that's. It was really true love. Like, I honestly thought I knew what true love was, but the toad really made me understand that I didn't until I met my wife. And it's quite an intense feeling, so that was my first, in my experience, because, common effects, again, as the ego death. Like I came out of my first, because I did 3 rounds. They usually do 3 rounds. Now, before, Chad he said he would give you like a pretty large dose each round to try to break you through. But now things have changed a little bit. So the rounds are more gradual. As he calls the first round, it's a smaller dose. He calls it the handshake. And it's just to get you familiar with the feeling. It's a very light introduction. You are going to experience some things, but it's not going to be at an intense level. And then, because not everybody needs that kind of... that dose, there's a lot of people that can only that little bit, but the second dose is the second round is a little bit larger of a dose, and if needed, and if they're prepared for it, a third round, which is a little bit larger for the breakthrough. And the goal is possibly to work through the 3 rounds, but it's not necessary. You have this intense feeling of this connection to, like, everything. It's almost this emotional release. It's quite fascinating. And, you kind of lose your sense of yourself a little bit. It's kind of wild to see yourself outside of yourself, I really can't explain it. It's like, when I did it, I would say the feeling that I felt was like being wrapped in a very warm blanket of unconditional, unbiased love. Just like this intense, overwhelming, pure sensation. It's quite wild. Now the history of the Bufo is very weird. So this isn't like an ancient tradition. We were just known about DMT through like ayahuasca rituals and stuff. But the Bufo Alvarius is more recent. So it was actually it was discovered by a man named Ken Nelson. He actually wrote a handbook. One of my favorite shows is they used to be on Vice called Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia. And they did a couple series on the Bufo Alvarius. Now, he actually got tricked into possibly interviewing somebody who was claiming to be the man who wrote that manual, but it wasn't. And he did find the right person. And, I want to go into a little bit about the history of this.
Hey, Hamilton. I heard you were looking for Albert Most. Perhaps I can help you fill in the missing pieces of your puzzle. I am Albert Most. I wrote about the toad. I smoked the toad venom. I am Albert Most. Let's talk sometime. Ken, Denton, Texas.
When I received a letter from a provocative new Almost claimant, I could resume my investigation. This time, revolving around a secretive Texan named Ken Nelson. A psychedelic researcher and committed environmentalist, Ken was an unlikely recruit, but he joined the military in order to learn tactics to inform his anti-nuclear protests. Fascinated by the possibility of a psychedelic toad, he immersed himself in scientific literature and traveled to Gila, Arizona to locate Bufo Alvarius, but found nothing as the toads were still estivating in their subterranean refugia. Undeterred, he returned during the monsoon season of 1983 in his Chevy sport van with a collie named Quana and his then girlfriend, Pat. When Quana spotted a toad near their campsite, Ken leapt into action. He squirted the venom onto the windshield of his sport van, dried it, smoked it, and had the first known experience with venom of the psychedelic toad of the Sonoran desert. In his pamphlet, Ken described the experience as being completely absorbed in a complex chemical event characterized by an overload of thoughts and perception, brief collapse of the ego, and a loss of the space-time continuum. He returned to Denton, Texas, where he became a resident advisor and enrolled in a technical writing class to help publish the results of his research. The product was a new religion, a series of t-shirts, a specialized toad venom smoking pipe, 5-methoxy DMT matches, and a small pamphlet that would forever change ethno-herpetological history.
I was first. In science, when you scoop everybody, you beat them to the punch. So once I realized what I had, it was a big deal. And smoked it.
But he's the one that wrote the book, so it really didn't start getting popular until about 1980s-ish, like the early 80s. And it became really popular more recently because a lot of the, I heard about it through Joe Rogan, back when I used to listen to him before he became a fucking Trump-loving fuck nut. But, I heard Mike Tyson talk about it, and I've heard him in other interviews, and the way he spoke about it, it fascinated me.
Do you understand the toad?
Is it like ayahuasca?
No, it takes you to another level. Ayahuasca is nothing compared to this.
Is it called DMT?
Yes. The toad, and it's in the Sonora Desert, and it has the venom in it. And you smoke it. Once I tried it, boom! Everything just went so fast. And when I fell out, the only thing I was conscious about was out. My brain was still functioning, my thoughts, I could still talk to myself, I could hear my mind, and I was saying, I fucked up. And I killed myself.
Because you killed the ego.
I'm dying. It was just really mind-blowing.
Spiritual in nature, though, right? Like you're just...
Yeah, really, my whole life totally changed. It sounds like a movie script, but it's really the real deal.
At that moment, you're talking about like you come to and you are altered. You are altered and it stayed.
I don't know. I wake up, I'm happy, I'm laughing, I'm smiling, I think, what the
really
happened? Yeah.
Really?
Had no idea.
So sex, cocaine, championship belt, those weren't happiness?
Nothing, no. It lasts forever, but it was only 15 minutes. But it felt like hours. And it was frightening.
Because of that ego thing, because you realize you're small all of a sudden.
Yeah, once I realized that I'm nothing, I realized all my fancy clothes, my big clothes.
Can you explain to me why it makes you emotional just talking about it? Because I imagine the reason it makes you emotional is because for 4 decades you've been trying to find happy, man.
When you think you know everything, and then you realize you don't know anything. That's a big awakening. You can call it growth or you can call it divine intervention.
You do realize you're talking about the toad like someone would talk about God, right?
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say it's God. I'm not going to put nothing in the same breath as God.
Can you explain how it changed you?
It was just the death of your ego. When your ego died, I felt so naked and afraid at that particular time because that's all I really had when you really think about it was my ego.
That's interesting because your ego served you too, or in some of the ways other people would measure success.
Oh, no doubt, 100%. It made me that guy that I really wasn't interested in as I got older, but that made me a very special and famous person.
I would say that the most aggressive man ever, being basically taught by the universe that he is nothing. His fancy cars are nothing. It's nothing. Like it means nothing. And it's so wild. The ego death, that's what I mean by that. Like all his championships, that it meant nothing to the toad. And that's so cool, man. One of my favorites is with him saying that it changed his life fucking completely. You know, now there is a lot of, because it's not like something tested. It's just some guy squirted some toad venom onto a fucking windshield, dried it, and smoked it, and went on his first fucking toad DMT trip. And it's become a thing now. It's because there's more research being done. You know, Chad's actually a trained, certified
Marijuana affects the brain.
Marijuana is not a drug.
Chad actually is a trained facilitator. There we go. Trained facilitator there. But he's gone training through others, and they're all learning as they go, and there are improvements and safety measures and things of that sort. You should have seen the tool that he used to smoke out of was unreal. It was cool. He had like cartridges ready. It was pretty awesome. He had all the hits ready to go in these vials it was probably one of the coolest things ever. You know, now a lot of people are worried about like the safety, health conditions and stuff. I'm pretty sure you got to be aware if you have any kind of like heart conditions or anything of that sort. You want to be cautious of those types of things because there are potential risks. This isn't what doesn't have risks. I mean, shit, even cell phones get you fucking cancer. You know, because there is the increased heart rate. You know, the breath. Sometimes you can't feel like you can't breathe. I know my wife did it. Sometimes she felt like she couldn't breathe. So, you know, and you got to be ready and prepared for it. This is not something you can just take lightly. You want to be in the right headspace to want to heal or to want to take on what you're taking on. Some people have done this and it has just unraveled them to where they're just like, I can't do that anymore. It's too scary. Screw that. And there's others brave enough to go back in and just want to learn and understand why and to get over it and to heal. You know, trying to no longer give traumas or, you know, past pain to give it any more power is quite, I think, like to me, one of the hardest things that a person has to do. And that's what this is. It's a tool. It is a vehicle to help you start that journey. What you do with the information, the things you learn it's really up to you, which is kind of that. A lot of people have a little bit of the ethical issues with it. You know, is this hurting the frog? Is this, you know, ethically to be able to, is this a drug? You know, what the fuck, right? You know, but, you know, there are other alternatives. You don't have to involve harming animals. I know they even have like ketamine therapies now that are licensed and stuff, facilities you can go do as well. You know, now, you know, the coolest thing about it being a native to Arizona is these motherfuckers are in the desert. I can literally go in. In fact, my code name for it is I want to go nematode hunting for all of you Doug Funny old school motherfuckers. Doug. Yeah, go nematode hunting. That's what I call it. But I've been wanting to do that. You know, it usually happens during monsoon season, so it's something I can learn and research about before this September or August, which is, you know, usually around monsoon season here. So I'm curious. I just don't want to go too crazy because, you know, flash floods and shit. I don't be washed away and die. You know, it is serious shit. But I would always want to learn about that. I wouldn't just take it though. I would give it to my friend Chad. But yeah, I would love to go nematode hunting one time. Now, so, you know, the real discussion is like the hype versus the reality. Like, do you think, hey, ethically, is this right? You know, are we hurting the frogs? You know, they just flash them with a light. They squirt it out onto a glass and they let them go. Not a big deal. They're not. You know, a lot of it too is like, is this a dangerous trend? Is somebody going to OD? Is somebody going to die from this? I don't know if there's any record of anybody dying. Possibly has. There's records of everybody. Record of people taking too much aspirin and dying. So to me, you can tell what side of the argument I'm on. You know, but now, you know, there's have been a lot of ancient rituals like the ayahuasca tea and stuff, you know, in South America. You know, these are these genuine rituals, and a lot of it has changed. You know, before it was the shaman who would ingest the tea, so it wouldn't be the person doing it. He would be transferring the energies and transferring the things and the knowledge to the person. You know, I believe there has, in my own opinion, there has been a little bit of bastardizing of it through, you know, Western bastardization and commercialism of it too as well. But, you know, it's us really just trying to understand what it's trying to show you. I think we came upon it, you know, whether it's modern wellness culture now, or whether this is just some kind of drug thing, or whatever you want to think about it. To me, you know, the culture is changing. You know, there's a lot more unexplained things out there that, you know, like even the ayahuasca tea. I mean, they do that for thousands of years, you know. You know, to me, I don't think it's any kind of wrong to spiritually explore, to find some way to heal from past traumas, issues, pains, losses, failures. You know, I used to keep a lot of my failures. I used to like almost carry them like weights around my neck. And, you know, every failure that I've had in my life had weighed me down, because I felt like I was judged based on those failures. And I know one of the other things I've learned during my toad ceremony was, you know, freaking forgiveness. Like, you gotta forgive yourself. You can't heal until you forgive. Everybody makes mistakes. Mistakes are okay. It's what you do and how you learn from those mistakes. Is how you grow. You know, how do you know you're alive? Pain. So, you know, that's at least my opinion. I would love to hear you guys' comments and stuff, so please feel free to comment in the comments of the video, like and subscribe. But yeah, we got a little zenny today. Yeah, I'm super stoned for this too, so I wanted to make sure I was nice and mellow and zen for it. You know, but yeah, this is one of my favorite topics. You know, my wife just had her ceremony on Friday. You know, and even my guy was like, hey, you know, I got a little bit. You want to do a little hello, a little trippy trip for you too as well? And I said, you know what? No, I'm going to focus on her. And he was like, oh, that's very kind of you, man. He goes, I was like, no, it's very kind of you. It's very hard for me to make sure that I wasn't the center focus of at that time. Don't forget, hit up if you have any questions, or if you're interested in possibly having a toad ceremony facilitated to you. Feel free to reach out to my friend, Mr. Chad Gregory. You can go to the website down below. It is joshuatreebufo.com. Go ahead and reach out to him. There's some testimonies. My wife, Bridget, is about to do a testimony from her. You know, I'm thinking about doing one for myself as well, just to help him out. But, you know, this is a testimony to Mr. Gregory and the good work that he does. It's quite a truly emotional and spiritual awakening. It's pretty awesome, people. But I thought it would be something cool to talk about today. It'd be a weird episode. I got a little real. I got too serious all of a sudden.
Don't judge me, monkey.
All right, y'all. It's been very zen today, but I think I need to go get him. I need to go get high.
Just 1 second.
It's been your episode. That's right, y'all. It's your boy, Steve OG. Don't forget to like and subscribe.